Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to explore something that's literally right above you, or at least nearby. Just take a second and think about the roof over your head, the ones you saw driving over. We tend to take them completely for granted, right? But what if I told you that roof is telling a story? That it's this amazing piece of engineering and really key to how a building works with the world around it. So our mission today is pretty straightforward. Cut through the jargon and give you a real shortcut to understanding roof structures. We've dug into some really great expert material, stuff from Site Carpentry Pros, that gives us a detailed look, not just how they're built, but the fascinating why behind every single angle and shape. By the end of this, you won't just see a roof, you'll get its purpose, the clever thinking behind it, maybe even some surprising cultural bits. Get ready for some insights that might actually change how you see buildings. Seriously.
That's exactly right. It's more than just keeping the rain out. Understanding the roof is, well, it's fundamental. It's crucial for the building stability, how energy efficient it is, and how it fits into its environment. Once you start seeing the deliberate choices in design, it really changes how you appreciate the whole built world.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The incredible diversity of roof shapes. I mean, you look at any skyline, any neighborhood, and it's this like tapestry of different roof styles.
Mm.
In each one, you start to realize it tells a story about its design, why it's there, maybe even the region. So where do we even start trying to understand this variety, especially the why behind the look?
Well, I think the most iconic, maybe the place everyone recognizes, is the gable end roof. You know, the one, those two sloping sides meeting up at a ridge, creates that classic triangle shape at the ends. Its popularity isn't just looks, though. It's brilliantly simple, super efficient for shedding rain, snow. Plus, it gives you good ventilation underneath and often that really useful attic or loft space, all without super complicated building. It's just versatile, tough, been around forever.
Right, so the gable is like the reliable workhorse.
Yeah.
Got it. But what if you need something that looks, I don't know, more uniform? Or maybe something stronger against wind?
Ah, okay, that leads us right to the hipped roof. See, unlike the gable with its vertical ends, a hipped roof has all sides sloping down towards the walls. So you get this continuous sort of gentle slope all the way around. Now, this design is a real champion for stability, especially against wind. Think about it. A big, flat gable end can catch wind like a sail, right?
Yeah, I can picture that.
But the hipped roof, with those slopes on all sides, it deflects wind much more effectively. It spreads the pressure out, reduces that dangerous uplift force, really crucial in places with high winds. And, bonus, the slopes on all sides mean water drains off really well everywhere.
Makes total sense. Less for the wind to grab onto. Now, I heard there's a kind of hybrid, something that mixes both.
Indeed, yeah. That would be the Dutch roof, or sometimes called the Dutch gable. It's a pretty clever mix. Basically, you start with a hipped roof structure, but then right at the top of the hip end, there's a small gable section built in.
Oh, interesting. Why do that?
Well, it adds a nice visual touch, for one, but functionally, it lets you put a window in that gable bit, so you get natural light and better ventilation up in the attic space, while still keeping a lot of the structural strength and wind resistance of the hip design. It's kind of the best of both worlds, in a way.
Clever. Okay, and thinking about space inside, especially upstairs, I know there's a roof style that just screams barn.
Ah, yes, you must mean the gambrel roof. Very distinctive look. It's symmetrical, two-sided, but the key is that each side has two different slopes. There's a gentler slope up top and then a much steeper slope on the lower part.
Right, the classic barn look.
Exactly. And there's a reason it's used on barns, that super steep lower pitch. It maximizes the usable headroom and floor space in the attic or loft area. Perfect for storing hay, obviously. But you also see it a lot in homes, especially Dutch colonial styles, because it gives you almost a full extra story of living space up there without making the whole building way higher. And like the gable, it sheds water really well.
Brilliant. Designing purely for function. Love it. Now, speaking of maximizing space, there's another one, the mansard roof. It always looks so elegant, almost Parisian to me.
You nailed its heritage right there. The mansard, sometimes called the French roof, yeah, it's iconic. It's got four sides, and like the gambrel, each side has two slopes. But here, the lower slope is the really steep one, almost vertical sometimes, and it often has those dormer windows poking out.
Uh-huh.
This, again, dramatically increases the usable living space, effectively creating a full attic story. The upper slope is much shallower, sometimes barely visible from the ground. But here's the really fascinating bit, a surprising historical twist.
Oh, go on.
This design became super popular in 17th century France, partly as a way around property taxes.
Oh, way.
Yeah, taxes were often based on the number of floors below the main roof line. So by building living space into the roof itself, you essentially got an extra floor without officially adding a taxable story.
That is fantastic. A tax loophole built right into the architecture. I love that.
Okay.
Shifting gears completely, we also see roofs that look, well, basically flat. What's the deal there?
Right, the flat roof. Now, technically, it's not perfectly flat. It has to have a slight pitch, usually less than 10 degrees, just enough so water can drain off.
Okay.
It's a very minimalist look, very modern architecture, especially popular in drier climates. And they're really versatile, great for rooftop terraces, gardens, putting up solar panels easily. But, and this is the big but, waterproofing is absolutely critical. Historically, flat roofs kind of got a bad rap for leaks.
I've heard that.
Yeah, but honestly, modern materials and techniques have made them incredibly reliable if they're installed correctly and maintained properly. It's a look championed by modernists like the Bauhaus folks, who saw the roof as almost a fifth wall, a usable outdoor room.
Right. Requires diligence.
Yeah,
And lastly, just for pure, simple efficiency.
that's probably the monopitch roof, also called a shed roof or skillion roof. It's about as straightforward as it gets. Just one single sloping surface pitched in one direction. Very clean, very modern aesthetic, super efficient for shedding water and snow. You see them a lot on extensions, carports, or sometimes designers use multiple mono pitches at different angles for a dynamic look.
Wow. It really is amazing how many ways humans have figured out to put a lid on a building. Each one is a deliberate choice. But okay, we've talked shapes, the outside look. So what does this all mean for what's inside the roof? Let's shift from that visible shape to the hidden construction underneath. You mentioned cold and warm roofs.
Yes. And what's fascinating here is how these two designs fundamentally tackle temperature and moisture. It's all about where you put the insulation, and that dictates how the temperature in that roof space is managed, and
Yeah.
that has huge implications for the building's performance, your comfort, even how long the structure lasts. Okay, let's start with the cold roof. This is probably the more traditional approach, especially for pitched roofs. Here, the insulation, like that fluffy stuff you see in attics, it goes directly above the ceiling of the top floor.
Right, on the attic floor.
Exactly. So the living space below is insulated, but the actual roof space, the attic itself, stays uninsulated. It's deliberately kept cold, meaning its temperature is pretty close to the outside air temperature.
Why do that? Seems counterintuitive.
Well, the main idea is it can help prevent condensation forming directly on the cold underside of the roof sheathing or tiles. But, and this is critical, a cold roof absolutely must have proper ventilation. Air needs to flow through that space, usually from vents under the eaves up to vents near the ridge.
Carry moisture away.
Precisely. Because warm, moist air from the house will find its way up there. Without ventilation, that moisture gets trapped in the cold space, condenses on the timbers, and leads to damp, rot, mold, big problems, costly repairs, bad air quality, the works.
So with a cold roof, the attic is basically outside the warm blanket of the house, and it needs to breathe. What's a common mistake people make with these?
Oh, easily the biggest pitfall is blocking those vents. People stuff insulation into the eaves, blocking the airflow, or they seal up ridge vents thinking they're stopping drafts.
Right, trying to make it more airtight but actually causing a problem.
Exactly. A cold roof needs that constant air movement. Blocking it can wreck the roof structure surprisingly fast, all hidden way up there.
Okay, now let's contrast that with a warm roof.
In a warm roof design, the insulation is placed above the structural roof deck, so it's on the outside of the main roof timbers. This creates a continuous thermal envelope, like wrapping the entire roof structure itself in a warm blanket. The whole roof space inside that insulation layer stays warm, effectively becoming part of the conditioned living space.
So the attic, if there is one, is warm too.
Correct. And this is incredibly effective at minimizing condensation risk because you don't have those big temperature differences across the structure. By keeping the structural timbers warm and dry, you protect them from extreme temperature swings, which really helps extend the roof's lifespan. Plus, it generally means better overall energy efficiency, which can translate to lower heating and cooling bills.
Makes sense.
This approach is particularly good for flat roofs, where ventilation can be tricky, and for any building where you're really pushing for high thermal performance. The main challenge: ensuring the outer waterproofing layer is absolutely perfect because it's protecting the insulation too.
Right, like keeping your whole house, structure and all, inside a thermos flask. Okay, so the key takeaway is really location, location, location. for the insulation, that is, and managing air and temperature to keep things dry and efficient. Is there like a general rule for when you definitely choose one over the other?
There kind of is, yeah. For new builds, especially with flat roofs, a warm roof design is almost always the preferred way to go now. Better performance, less condensation risk. For existing homes with pitched roofs, converting a traditional cold roof into a proper warm roof can be quite complex and, frankly, expensive because you have to deal with the existing structure and ensure ventilation is handled correctly if you insulate at rafter level. So for many homeowners just looking to upgrade, adding more insulation at the ceiling level, improving that cold roof setup often remains the most practical and cost-effective option. It really depends on the roof type, budget, and what level of energy performance you're aiming for.
Well, that clarifies things a lot. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. How a roof isn't just passively sitting there, but actively interacting with the environment, adapting to it, sometimes even helping it. We just don't think about our roofs being in this constant kind of dynamic conversation with nature, do we?
No, we often don't. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the choices we make for our roofs can have a significant environmental impact. It's not just about the building itself. The sources we looked at really emphasize this crucial role, how roof shape and structure influence climate adaptation, energy use, sustainability. It's a dialogue that's been going on for centuries between builders and the environment. Let's maybe break down some of those specific interactions. First, just basic weather resistance. Roof shapes aren't random. They're almost always tailored to local weather. Think about those steep pitches, gable roofs, A-frames. They're brilliant in places with heavy rain or snow because they shed it quickly, preventing damaging buildup.
Wait.
On the flip side, in really hot, dry places where heavy rain isn't the main issue, you might see more flat or gently sloped roofs. Different priorities.
And that connects directly to energy use, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Which brings us to energy efficiency and sustainability. The roof's shape directly impacts how the building handles heat. For example, well-ventilated designs, maybe dome shapes or roofs with significant slopes, can promote natural airflow. That can cut down the need for air conditioning or heating. And thinking more modern, shapes like the monopitch or flat roofs are ideal for installing solar panels. That turns the building from just an energy consumer into an energy producer. Big sustainability points there.
Yeah, maximizing that surface area.
Then there's wind and structural stability. We touched on this with hipped roofs. In windy areas, you need aerodynamic shapes. Hipped roofs are great at deflecting wind. A big, flat gable end, again, acts like a sail. So shape matters hugely for stability. Conversely, roofs with really large overhangs or maybe very complex shapes with lots of corners and edges might actually give the wind more to grab onto, making them potentially more vulnerable in a big storm.
It feels like there's often a trade-off there. Like if you design purely for wind resistance, do you lose out on other things like aesthetics or maybe light?
That can happen, yeah. It's definitely a balancing act for the architect. A very low-profile, multi-hipped roof might be incredibly wind-resistant, but maybe it limits your options for adding windows in the roof for natural light, or maybe it doesn't fit the desired look. So you're always weighing safety and performance against other factors like function, cost, and aesthetics. Good design finds the sweet spot. And, of course, maybe the most obvious interaction, water management and drainage. This is just fundamental. The roof shape dictates how water gets channeled away. If it's not done right, poor drainage, you get leaks, damp, foundation problems, erosion, serious stuff.
Yeah, water always wins if you let it.
It does. But beyond just getting rid of water, our sources highlight things like green roofs. These are amazing. They're literally living roofs covered in vegetation. They actively absorb rainwater, which is huge in cities because it reduces storm runoff that overwhelms drainage systems, that helps prevent flash floods. And this leads right into the broader ecological impact.
Green roofs seem like such a win-win. What else do they do ecologically besides managing water?
Oh, so much more. They provide natural insulation, which helps regulate the building's temperature, cutting energy use. They filter pollutants out of the air, improving air quality. And critically, especially in dense urban areas, they create habitats, little patches of green for insects, birds, supporting biodiversity right there on the rooftop, where usually there's just barren tar or gravel. And other designs focus on maximizing natural light inside, using skylights or strategically placed roof windows, which cuts down our need for artificial lights and saves energy. It's all about making buildings work with nature, not just against it.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? This raises an important question. The next time you look at a roof, can you start to read its story? Like how it relates to its specific place, its climate. It's like this silent conversation playing out. I remember reading once about this tiny fishing village where literally every single house had the exact saying very steep roof pitch. It wasn't just tradition, it was perfectly designed for the kind of heavy, wind-driven rain they got right off the coast. It just showed how deeply tied roofs are to the local environment. Okay, so we've gone through shapes, the hidden structures, these really important environmental connections. Let's bring it all together. What's the ultimate purpose of a roof? Why do we build them?
Well, stepping back, the roof is really this incredible multitasker. It synthesizes a whole bunch of crucial jobs into one essential part of the building. Job number one, obviously, is protection from weather, keeping out the rain, snow, wind, sun, making the inside safe and livable no matter what's happening outside. Then, as we discussed, there's temperature regulation. A well-designed roof with the right insulation and ventilation helps keep the inside temperature stable. That means less energy needed for heating and cooling, which saves money and resources.
Right, comfort and efficiency.
Exactly. Then, water drainage management. It's not just about stopping water, but actively managing it, channeling it away safely to prevent leaks, floods, foundation damage, and don't underestimate its role in structural integrity and stability. The roof structure ties the walls together, helps distribute loads like snow, and adds overall strength and rigidity to the entire building. It's a key part of the skeleton.
Hadn't thought of it quite like that, but it makes sense.
And increasingly important today is energy efficiency and sustainability. Roofs are prime real estate for things like solar panels or for green roof systems, helping buildings reduce their environmental footprint. And finally, you can't ignore the aesthetic and cultural significance. Roof shapes define architectural styles. Think of a traditional Japanese temple roof versus a sleek, modern flat roof. They communicate history, function, cultural values. They give a building its character.
It really is this amazing blend, isn't it? Part engineering, part art, part environmental science. Looking at all those functions, which one do you think people most often overlook or underestimate?
Oh, that's a good question. I'd probably say water drainage management. People get that a roof needs to be waterproof, stop leaks, but they often don't appreciate the whole system involved in getting that water off the roof and safely away from the building. A slightly blocked gutter, a tiny back pitch on a flat roof section, an improperly installed flashing. These seemingly small things can let water accumulate or seep in places you can't see, causing massive damage over time. It's the roof's silent, ongoing battle against gravity and water, and it needs to be managed perfectly.
That's a great point, the silent guardian role. Okay, what an incredible journey we've taken today, just by looking up. We've unpacked the surprising variety of roof shapes, the reliable gable, the sturdy hip, the space-making gambrel and mansard, the modern flat roof. We went beneath the surface to understand the crucial difference between cold and warm roof structures, how insulation placement changes everything for efficiency and durability. And we saw how roofs are deeply connected to their environment, resisting weather, boosting energy efficiency, managing water, even helping out local ecosystems.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, the humble roof really is a testament to human ingenuity. It reflects centuries of learning, adapting, figuring out how to best shelter ourselves while working with, and sometimes even enhancing, the natural world around us. It's this quiet, essential piece of technology, always there, always performing multiple jobs.
So here's a final thought for you to take away. The next time you find yourself under a roof your own, or someone else's, take a moment. Consider not just the shelter it provides, but the silent story it might be telling about its design, its climate, its purpose. What kind of roof do you live or work under, and what might it reveal about its history, its place in the world? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.